Welcome. Ottawa Public Library is pleased to present a draft facilities framework for public input. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video and participate by providing feedback. Library branches are one way that we deliver services to customers, and we know how important they are to communities. We need your input as we develop the facilities framework and each time that we review. As a resident of Ottawa, you can expect to be asked to provide input on each facility project as we build new branches, especially on your service needs and expectations. Before we begin, a few quick notes about this engagement process. This video is approximately 25 minutes and will be available through to the end of the engagement period, so don't feel pressured to watch in one sitting. The Draft Facilities Framework is available online and in branch in both English and French. Once you've watched this video and reviewed the draft document, let us know what you think. There's an online survey available until September 15th, 2022. If you have questions, you can email us at facilitiesframework@biblio.ottawalibrary.ca or join us at a virtual open house on August 23rd between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. Registration is available on our website. Throughout this presentation, you will hear references to the Service Delivery Framework, or SDF. So let me take a minute to explain how the Service Delivery Framework, or SDF, connects with this facilities framework. The SDF outlines OPL's commitment to services and identifies the 5 types of services known as service categories and the 3 ways services can be delivered, known as service channels. The facility channel is one of the 3 ways OPL delivers library services to customers. The facility channel is guided by a document we call the Facilities Framework and is what we will be discussing here today. The Facilities Framework is a tool that staff will use to make recommendations to the board for facility decisions. We want these decisions to be based on established criteria and standards, and this is what we are currently developing. The Facilities Framework will help staff to identify facilities-related gaps across our city, help to gather information for conducting growth studies regarding future needs, and to make recommendations regarding asset management and planning. The framework's overarching objective is to help the board make strategic decisions so we can provide equitable access to library service across the city. The framework is one part of the Facilities Master Plan, which is the list of all priorities, including gaps, growth, and asset management. The master plan spans a 20 to 25-year period, and then it will be broken down into 5-year and 1-year periods for planning and budgeting purposes. There are several components in the framework, and this presentation will focus on the key areas for public input: the facility channel and classification model, and the facility decision criteria. It's important to note that each component of the framework aligns with the guiding principles that were approved by the board in November of 2021. The guiding principles are detailed in the draft framework, but here are the key notes. Decisions regarding the facility need are driven by OPL's service delivery framework. Facility development will support the City of Ottawa's planning goals. OPL will aim to keep pace with population growth. Facility design will embody architectural excellence. OPL will strive for sustainability in its portfolio. The framework provides a high-level description of the facility channel and OPL's commitment to in-person service delivery through OPL locations. We do this through a network of branches throughout the city, located in prominent and convenient community gathering spaces. OPL's facility channel is built on a one system with many branches approach that recognizes the distinct role of the central branch as a hub for centralized and specialized services, the value in providing regionally based enhanced services, the importance of neighborhood libraries as community touchpoints, and the unique role of rural branches within those areas, and those areas considered independently of others. To support the facility channel, we have developed a facility classification system. The classification system will be used in the service delivery framework to identify the services available at each type of location. The central branch is designed to serve a local, a regional, and a citywide function. The central branch is in the downtown transect. A district branch is designed to serve a local and a regional function, and district branches are located in outer urban or suburban transects and serve as regional hubs for both local and rural branches in the region. A local branch is designed to serve specific neighborhoods, and you can find local branches in the downtown, the inner urban, the outer urban, and suburban transects. Rural branches are designed to serve a specific village and its surrounding rural community. And of course, you will only find these in the rural transect. This chart gives you a sense of how each existing branch fits into the classification model. Take a moment to find the branch you most frequently use to help put this into context. To be clear, the facility classification is not about the facility itself, but about the services offered in those locations. We are now at the heart of the facilities framework, the criteria that will be used for planning and development. We will spend the next few minutes walking you through the key points, and where possible, we will identify the intended data source. Gateway criteria is used to determine if there is a gap, essentially answering why. Prioritization criteria is used to prioritize facility gaps, answering the when. When would this facility be built? We caution that this is for planning purposes only, as there are many other considerations required when it comes to adding new facilities, such as funding, staffing, and making the most of opportunities as they arise. Building criteria are used to ensure the building or facility design is suitable to provide library services as per the service delivery framework. It essentially answers what are we building? And it's used both for new design and to assess existing facilities. Site criteria is used to ensure the location of a building or facility is suitable to provide library services. That essentially answers the question, where? Where will the library be built? Site criteria will be used to assess a site in terms of location within a neighborhood and the specific site requirements. Let's dive right into the first criteria, the gateway criteria. The draft framework proposes one criterion to kickstart the process. The gateway criterion identifies a neighborhood proximity to an OPL branch. For rural areas, staff propose using 20 kilometers. For all other areas, the proposed metric is 3 kilometers. Let's use the Overbrook community as an example. Overbrook is located in the inner urban part of the city, east of Rideau River and south of Vanier. If the average neighborhood distance from Overbrook to the closest branch is 3 kilometers or less, there is no gap, and that community would not be considered further. If, however, it was 5 kilometers, then we will proceed to the next criteria for assessment. To determine the distance, OPL will refer to data in the Ottawa Neighborhood Study. The question on everyone's mind is, why 3 kilometers and 20 kilometers? Based on available data, the Ottawa average neighborhood distance to a public library branch is 2.9 kilometers. That is the average for the entire city, including the rural communities. Data from other large Canadian libraries shows that the average distance to a public library branch is 1.8 kilometers. Yet when we look at those cities, some listed here, you can see that those cities are much larger in population and smaller in land size, with some exceptions. The number in brackets on the Ottawa line shows where Ottawa ranks compared to the others. It's no secret that we have the largest land size and the smallest population density. This makes comparing Ottawa to other cities a challenge. Staff then explored research on how far people are willing to travel to access library services. And the studies across North America show that 2 miles or 3.2 kilometers is the maximum. Now that we know what the Comparaba data says, let's look at Ottawa specifically in more detail. Ottawa's overall average is 2.9 kilometers. If we exclude the rural communities, the average distance drops to 2.29 kilometers. Of those non-rural communities, 80% of those neighborhoods can access a branch in 3 kilometers or less already. For the remaining 20% of neighborhoods, residents travel anywhere from 3.1 kilometers to more than 7 kilometers to access a library branch. Some of these are new neighborhoods where there has been growth over the last 20 years, such as Portobello South in Orleans or Morgan's Grant in Canada. Other areas are those that have been well established for many more decades, such as Bayshore Belltown or parts of Hunt Club. Using a 3-kilometer metric allows the library to focus on these gaps that have existed for a long time, called legacy gaps and growth gaps. When it comes to rural communities, an organization called Administrators of Rural and Urban Public Libraries of Ontario, known as a RUPLO, provides 2 guidelines for facilities. 1. Members of the public should travel no more than 30 minutes in a motorized vehicle under normal driving conditions to access basic library services offered by their municipal library system. 2. Public libraries should be built in existing village and town clusters or rural service centers. To develop the rural metric, staff explored what a 30-minute drive time would be for residents in Ottawa's rural communities. This equates to 20 kilometers. If the drive time was reduced to 20 minutes, the equivalent distance would be 15 kilometers. In summary, if the neighborhood is within the criteria, no further assessment would occur. If the neighborhood is outside of the threshold, the neighborhood would move to the next step, the prioritization criteria for assessment. This criteria will be used to prioritize neighborhoods that have gaps, and a reminder that these gaps may be due to growth or historical. OPL will use three lenses to assess neighborhoods: equity, distance, and growth. Each lens has a proposed weighting, and staff recommend that the total combined score be used to identify the priorities. The order and weighting of each lens aligns with the guiding principles. The weighting and scoring criteria can be found in the draft framework. Let's look at each lens in more detail. The equity lens looks at neighborhoods that are considered to have lower equity than others, as identified on the Neighborhood Equity Index, which is coordinated by the Social Planning Council of Ottawa. The Equity Index tool compares and assesses neighborhood differences that impact well-being. There are 28 indicators categorized into 5 domains: economic, health, social and human development, physical environment, and community and belonging. Using this data, an overall index score is provided. It is the overall score that will be used to prioritize neighborhoods for facility needs. Recognizing the importance of building more equitable neighborhoods, staff recommend that this criteria have greater importance or weighting than the other two. The distance lens is based on the proximity to the nearest library branch. Neighborhoods that are closer to a branch will receive lower scores, with those furthest away receiving higher scores. Distance calculations will use the average distance from a neighborhood as identified in the gateway criteria, the previous step. For example, a neighborhood that is 3.5 kilometers to the nearest branch would receive lower scores than a neighborhood that is 5 kilometers to the nearest branch. Data from the Ottawa Neighborhood Study will be used. The growth lens recognizes that facilities are intended to serve both existing and future populations. It's important to assess whether a neighborhood is expected to grow rapidly or to maintain its population in the long term, and for those population figures to be considered in facility development. Neighborhoods with faster than average growth rates are prioritized. This aligns with the city's intention to have relatively equal growth in new neighborhoods and existing neighborhoods. The gateway and prioritization criteria are two key elements in developing a list of neighborhoods that could be served by adding an OPL branch. The next two criteria are used to help design and locate a branch when a project is approved by the library board. This criteria will also be used to assess current facilities to ensure that they are meeting service needs. The building criteria develops the overall facility components to ensure both form or design and function. Again, the proposed criteria and weighting aligns with guiding principles. Of the 6 factors included, the first 2 are linked to the service delivery framework. Let's start with service needs. Earlier on, we explained that branches should reflect the communities where they are located, and the services offered in each location should meet the needs of the community. The service needs factor allows OPL to ensure that this occurs. For example, is the community in need of meeting rooms? Or what type and size of collection is needed for this community? These details are identified in the service needs and will be based on the service strategies being developed as part of the service delivery framework. Once those needs are established, we will use that information to help determine the size of a branch. For example, a small meeting room for 4 people requires 168 square feet of space. Each time a facility is built or renovated, we will engage the public in helping to determine the needs. If we're building a standalone library branch, we will do this on our own. If we're building a facility with a partner, such as with a community center, we will do this with our city colleagues. We will also look at the population size, both current and future, to help recommend the overall branch size. Staff recommended that population size be considered in terms of a square foot per capita or square foot per person metric, and staff are recommending 0.5 square feet per capita. To give you a bit of context, historically, OPL has used 0.4 square feet per capita. And the current average in Canada among comparator libraries is 0.47 square feet. Research shows that 1 square foot per person should be a target that public libraries should aspire to. The recommended 0.50 moves us closer to the average in a realistic manner, as a cost to build has to be considered. The remaining 4 criteria are all about the building and the space. What does it look like? Is the building structurally safe? Is it on one floor, which makes it less expensive to operate and maintain? Is the building sustainable? Does it have natural light? These are the types of questions to be answered with this criteria. To develop the specifics, including the weights and scores, we started with what we've heard from customers through other facility consultations, such as the Rosemount Branch revitalization and the new Central Library. From there, we added in other lessons learned from other branch renovations. The final set of criteria is the site criteria. Like we did with the building criteria, we started with what we heard from the public when we were looking for a site for the new Central Library, and we modified it to ensure that it was more neighborhood focused. The types of factors considered at this stage are access. Can the location be accessed by various modes of transportation? Is it close to a transit hub or station? What type of road should be built on to ensure both access and visibility? Shared spaces. Is there an opportunity to partner with another organization or city service, such as Ottawa Community Housing or Parks and Recreation? Physical boundaries recognizes the mandatory requirements under legislation for both building code and accessibility. And site readiness. How ready is the site for building? Is the land usable with minimal work? The less work that is required to get a site cleared for building, the higher the points. Finally, in keeping with aligning with the official plan, there are 2 additional metrics. One to assess against the 15-minute neighborhood concept, and the other recognizing isolated communities. That is, a community that's separated from others by a natural barrier, such as a river, or a human-made barrier, such as the canal. There are 2 important points to remember when it comes to site criteria. First, the cost of a site must be considered, and that occurs after sites are evaluated. Second, if the branch is located with a partner organization, their site criteria will need to be evaluated accordingly. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. We hope this provides you with an overview of the framework and hopefully answers some of your questions. If you still have questions though, please reach out. You can email us at facilitiesframework@biblioottawalibrary.ca or join us at the virtual open house on August 23rd between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. Registration is available on our website. And now that you've watched this video and reviewed the draft document, let us know what you think. The online survey is available until September 15th. We will take all that we hear and report back to you and to the board in October of 2022. Take care.